I've been told by everybody up on this roof that they're all off the roof. I am on the roof of exposure 4. Got fire through the roof of the fire building in the entire rear section.
Now remember, given the payday, has he been accounted for? Okay.
610B. That was the Mayday. 610B.
I'm here. We got a fire. 1.5-story, single-family dwelling. Fire shown from the second floor. Give me a second alarm on this.
Up to the top floor. I got people hanging out the top floor windows with a baby.
Commercial building. A lot of fire, a lot of smoke. Go ahead and strike a third alarm on my orders on this.
Got people on the front fire escape here with windows vented below them. We need somebody up there.
Yeah, let them know we got a job. I'm pulling up now. Second alarm, I got a 1-story single-family frame. Heavy fire showing from the attic.
So we're using all hands. We got one line stretch, fire on the 4th floor, second line being stretched. Primary searches are underway.
Hey, welcome to Old School. I'm Chief Rick Lasky alongside my good buddy and partner, Chief John Salka. And John, we did a class not too long ago, one of our company officer academies back pretty recently. And at the end on day 3 of the company officer academy, we do first due officer. The first due officer, the company officer considerations at a fire. And I love how you and I do it, where we throw the picture up there, we bust them into the groups, we throw the picture up there of the fire, then we throw a picture of some questions, then the fire and the questions. We give them 8 minutes to answer the questions, and we won't get into all the rest of the question now. Those maybe for another day. We got some great stuff in it, question-wise in there and everything else. But one of the questions in there, John, and we use it in that and our other tactics and strategy classes is, and this comes up from students all the time, is can we begin our attack using tank water alone? And I guess I know depending on the particular type of structure, I don't know, do we just want to talk private dwellings and multi-family dwellings to stay away from big commercial buildings right now, or what do you want to do?
You know what, that would make sense, because it's really, there's different answers to the questions when you get to the different kinds of buildings. But obviously for, if you like you said, house fires and private dwellings and even attached buildings and stuff, but residential, yeah.
Well, and again, let me back up for a second. We've talked about this on the show before, some of our, even our command post show at Fire Engineering. The question, the question, the response is, I didn't want to use my tank water because I was worried about running out of water. I didn't want to, and over the years, I mean, when we used to do our live burns with U of I, with the University of Illinois, that was a big concern, especially in the rural areas, was, why didn't you go to work with this? Like, I didn't want to run out of water. And I'm like, well, why didn't you at least try to put the fire out or slow it down or, be done with it or whatever? You make a more progress than just continuously working towards burning this person's building down. And then we got into the whole thing about, and it was funny because years and years ago, I heard for the first time you say, you don't carry that water for ballast. It's not there so you don't flip the pumper over an intersection. It's not car fire water.
Right.
And, so I take it, that even a step further when, I had one instance, where one of my captains, good guy, pull up big ass home. And I'm wanting to go to work and he's not debating it. He's like, yeah, you can see the hesitancy when I gave the order. And I go, look, the next 2 engines bringing water, you and I've said it, absolute priority from the next 2 is to make sure and ensure the first one's got a positive source, or you drop in tanks that they got water. And then you can worry about other things. I said, I've got it coming. And so later I said, why were you a little hesitant? He goes, why do you want to run out of water? And I said, well, how much are you carrying? And we talk about 750 gallons. I go, okay, how much water comes out of the end of our nozzles? And we've done this before, you and I, right? Where I tell them, all right, get your cell phone out, and I did this, get your cell phone out, get your stopwatch ready. Ready? Okay, I'm going to open up the door to the structure. I'm going to hold it open. You stretch the line in there with your partner. You guys get your nozzle in. You get to the door, ready, open the nozzle, open the bail now, boom. And I start timing them. And I said, and even before this, I said, so how many minutes do we have? Let's just say what's 750 or 7 gallons of water. And everybody's like 4.5, depending on what you're flowing. Even with a 500-gallon tank, John, you know what I'm saying? How much water do you have? And right now I'd say, okay, where are we at? And he would say like, because I was just timing it 14 seconds. Okay, so 14 seconds. All right, it's wide open, right? Because that's how we fight fires, don't we? We just lay in there like this, the line open the whole time. We don't move in, hit it, shut it, move, you know. So it's in there open, fully wide the whole time. How much water we have, how much time we have left? Well, we're only at 29 seconds. I'm like, this is going to take us for, you know where I'm going. You've seen me do this. It's kind of comical, right? Because I start.
And like you said, and the interesting part of that is that's just going in, opening up, and counting off. And you know, but in reality, not everybody, but in reality, you know, when I was in 48 engine, my policy was we go in, you hit it, open it up 3, 4, 5 seconds, boom, shut down. Crawl in a little bit more, all right, open it up again. So if you were in there for 4 minutes, you only had the nozzle open for 2. You know, you almost had equal time. 3 seconds open, 3 seconds close. 5 seconds open, 3 seconds close, you know. And you end up with minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes of water. Now, the one thing you didn't mention was somebody could say, well, not only we can run out of water, but how about this? We can run out of water while we're in there.
Right,
you know,
right.
So that sort of changes the whole argument. Like, who gives a shit if you run out of water? You run out of water, you run out of water. Everybody's run out of water. So you wait for more water to get there, you try and catch back up on the fire. But now if you're in there, if you're 2 rooms in, if you're on the second floor fighting a bedroom fire on the second floor of a house, and you run out or you start to run out, that could be a concern. But again, nothing that can't be handled with training and communication. And I've said that 1,000 times. You know, you go in there, you're fighting fire off the tank, right? And all of a sudden, 4-8 choke with a 4-8. Go ahead, Willie. You're down at 3/4, Cap. 10-4. Well, now you know.
And let me ask you right there, how many times, you're exactly right. That is, we've talked about, that is a big time reminder for anybody driving, right? That you have to keep your interior crew informed how much water, because you've said, how many times do you want to hear you're down to a 1/4 tank? And it's like, wait a minute, what happened if we were down to a 1/2 tank, or
right.
You know, right?
But the whole concept of the chauffeur keeping track, they got all the lights on there. They're gigantic now. It's like a traffic light now, right? The 3 or 4 lights up there, the yellow, red, blue, green, whatever. Right? And as long as your chauffeur's paying attention, which is why he's out there, which is why they don't allow the chauffeur to be part of the RIT team and everything else, right? As long as he's out there doing his job, letting you know, even if he just lets you know the quarters, 3/4, 1/2, 1/4, and you come out whenever you want. Your rule could be 1/2, your rule could be 1/4, whatever it is. So you really sort of can't run out of water, even if you have just operating off tank water, because somebody's at the other end of the hose measuring that for you too. So, but to get back to running out of water, so a guy says, oh, we only get 500 gallons, we get 750. Some people don't think that's a lot, but I don't want to run out of water. Well, if you don't use your tank water, you already ran out of water.
Right.
Right. You're going to see the exact same result as running out of water. Is standing there and watch it burn. You know?
And what's the difference, that we're making for Mrs. Smith and the Smith children inside when we delay getting water to the fire, right? How many times, John, have we said in 1,000 years that for every minute the fire goes unhindered, whatever, it doubles in size and blah, 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 blah. And now we're even slower. We brought this water with us, with the fire hose, with firefighters, with SCBAs and everything else, and we're delaying getting water to the fire. And not everything's through the window. You can't do anything through the window. In fact, a lot of them are not. A lot of them, it's creeping down the hallway. It's already filled with smoke. Those people are laying in their beds, unconscious. And, so the need to get in there, we've talked about this, not turning it, to bust ass to get in as quickly as you can, and not for any other reason. And you and I both got some great emails from the guys in Stockton, California. I'm just bringing it up for that reason. You and I just offhandedly made a comment, one of our podcasts here, one of our old schools, about, you want to see people that do it right. There's a bunch of places putting videos out there. Watch the videos from Stockton, California. They are fast ass, aggressive, safe, aggressive. I mean, air packs, hood, there's nobody running around half dressed like you see. Oh, they were quick, but they weren't wearing their shit. We're talking, I mean, they, and so just shoot to be like them with how quick you get water into the building on the fire. But tank water, John, right? I mean, let me just ask you, ordinary 2-story single family dwelling, couple room, room going, couple rooms going, all right? It's not through the roof and out 7, 12 windows, which we can still attack, but let's just address, you pull up at 2.5 or 2 in the morning, whatever, you got fire showing out, a window, it's into 2 rooms, and you have 500 gallons of water. I mean, do you make that attack using tank water alone?
Oh, absolutely. And certainly we've done it. 500 is a little bit less than 750. And listen, most places that have water issues, and I don't want to call it problems, but water issues, carry more than 500 gallons of water. It's 2020 now, 2020. It's 2020. You know what? They spec out rigs now. They got new poly tanks. They get all sorts of technology out there. They're designing the tanks can wrap around the internal components that are pumping out, and they can get another 150, 200 gallons in there. It's crazy. Nobody really should have a 500 gallon tank anymore.
To carry 1,000 gallons in some places is like nothing nowadays. Now, granted,
Absolutely.
Some inner city areas where you got to make your pumpers a little bit smaller because the streets, I understand. But yeah, you're right.
New York City's up to 750. For most of my career, most pumpers in New York City had 500 gallons of water in the tank, and we fought plenty of fire with that. Give me booster water. That was the sign. Give me booster water, and they give you the 500 gallons. And then, of course, they were in the process of hooking up anyway. We got plenty of hydrants as well, but there's not hydrant water instantly. So you pull a line. He rolls down the block a couple of lengths. He stops. He tests the hydrant. You might get to the apartment door. The truck might pop it. You might be ready for water before he's ready to give it to you. So he tells you. The officer tells him 4-8 to 4-8 chauffeur. Give me booster water. So he gives you the tank, and then he continues hooking up. What? A minute later, a minute and a half later, 4-8 chauffeur. You're on hydrant water, Cap. He just says it. It's not even a two-way comment. But the point being, starting with a little bit of water works out well, and it gets you in operation. Now, there's some issues you want to think about. Now, for a private dwelling, you got that kitchen going, and you get that first line in there. It's going to slow you down a little bit because I'm not quite sure. With 500, definitely not. With 750, maybe. 1,000, not a problem. You're not going to start a second line with a 500 gallon tank.
Right.
Even if you think, fire's extended to the second floor now, to the bedroom on the second floor, you know what? It's going to hinder you to some degree.
Well,
so let me finish my story. FDNY had 500 gallon pump tanks. The whole job. They started doing 750s on Staten Island because some places on Staten Island are still pretty rural, farms and couple acre lots and stuff like that. No hydrant areas and stuff. But now I think, if I'm not incorrect, I think all the pumpers in the FDNY now are coming in with 750 gallon tanks. So,
and you said that,
New York is doing, and that's a fully hydrant department.
Well, yeah, they got a gazillion hydrants too, and water everywhere. But the second line thing you said, and I just want to emphasize that even more, is a great point you brought up, because I've seen people, it happened to me a couple of times at Louisville, maybe a little over enthusiastic second to a company. They take the second line, they haven't been given the order, but they stretch it, and the next thing, just charge it, so I'm ready. And then you know where I'm going with this, and no, you know what? You need to be ready to go. Don't rob any water whatsoever from that tank for that first due crew. And
I've never had a problem with a second due engine or third due, whoever it may be. The engine, I've never had a problem with my companies self-stretching, self-deploying, stretching a second line, and then coming up to me, hey, Chief, get the second line right here when you're ready. I never had it. They never called for water. They never deployed it to the building. But I often had 46 engine or one of the companies that knew they were the second line company. They knew it. And the FDNY was always the first two engines were on the first line, and the third engine was on the second line. So they knew, 46 knew their third due to coming in. And very often, as I said, the officer would walk up to me, hey, Chief, get the line right here. Let me know if you need it. Thank you. And there was no problem with me not having, not ordered that.
And if anything, maybe the reminder should be, if you're giving the order to stretch a second line, everybody's got to be keyed in. Are we on a positive sort? If they're on tank water, because some guys maybe, hey, we got the order to stretch a second line, and the nozzleman, the nozzleman may not know yet, you know what I'm saying? And he inadvertently opens it up and starts doing something, whatever. It just, to remind, we always made the announcement. We always made the announcement, I'm on a hydrant, meaning it didn't mean I was sitting on a hydrant. It was a quick way to say, everyone's on a hydrant. Good, sustainable water supply. We're good.
Now, you see, a lot of other things start to get tangled up here. We're talking about hydrant water. Going to work with hydrant water before you connect it to going to work with tank water before you connect it to a hydrant. That's what we're talking about. Now, what the conversation has led to is now talking about the second line, right? So leads us to another question, which is another discussion for another day, but it's tied into this is, does the second line come off the same pumper as the first line, right? Now, in my fire department, the answer to that is yes. Any fire department I've ever been in so far, and I've been in 4, 2 paid and two volunteer and 2 career departments, and everywhere I've ever worked, the second line is stretched off the same pumper that the first line is stretched off, right? So what's great about that is, even if even if you just do it, you know, without any fanfare. 46, get me a second line to the front door. 10-4, Chief. He goes to the first do rig. The first do, no, he's going to see it. They're going to see it. They're going to go to the first do rig, or the chauffeur's going to say, 46, what are you doing? I'm not on a hydrant yet. Oh, my hydrant's dead. Go somewhere else. So you always have that opportunity, too, that the first do engine, you know, chauffeur or pump operator is there, and another company shows up to pull a second line off him. If he's not ready, prepared, or have enough water or connected yet, he might shoo them away or tell them, hold on a second, I don't got water yet, you know?
And good dialed-in departments, FD&Y, a lot of suburban departments, you know, some volley joints, career. Louisville, for example, you know, to our listeners, we're not saying, you know, we take 150 lines off of the first arriving, the first do of the pumping or the attack engine. Saying is there's a lot of discharges on there for a reason. And there's a lot of, you know, GPM that can come out of that particular pump. Where I'm going with this, John, is I'll back up to that operation, 2-3 lines off that rig, whatever. You do it, we do it. I know Chicago, the 211 or the 211 engine in Chicago hits the hydrant with a hard suction. Chicago is full of water, like you said. If you ever had a fire in Chicago, to our listeners, and you see an engine on the news or one of Gordon Nord or Timmy Oak's pictures, you see it hooked, you know, to the hydrant with hard suction. That's the first 211 engine, the first second alarm engine. They bring the water main right up to the street, and they've done that forever. What I'm saying is we always ensure the more we are into that incident, the further we go, that we have a second water source. If we lose this main, we've got an engine already ready to go, you know, and we'll have a slight delay, but we won't get guys jammed up. So folks, don't think we're talking about that. But I agree, John.
That's way over the head.
Yeah.
That's way over the head of the first two company officers.
Right.
So they're looking at lines and nozzles in the first do engine and the first do hydrant, you know.
Yeah, and there's discharges all over the place. So the first one, the second, whatever. But that question comes up a lot, and it brings up some good discussion. Can I begin this attack using my tank water alone? So let me ask you this, because I've got a few in my head. What are the cautions you tell that captain, that company officer? Okay, you're on tank water. Your driver operator, your engineer, your chauffeur, whatever you call him, is going to keep you informed. Better keep you informed. If not, you go have a good talk behind closed doors. Seriously, I don't know what else is a higher priority to a driver than keeping the interior crew fighting the fire know how much water's got left. Now, I know getting water from a hydrant is important. What I'm saying is there is nothing else more important than making sure your guys inside, guys and gals inside, have water, whether that's off your tank and you're making the changeover or someone else's, whatever. But what are the cautions do you give that if you're sitting with that company officer having coffee? All right, I'm going with my tank water. What should I be concerned about, Chief?
Well, I think we touched on it a few minutes ago. We got to be a little bit more cautious inside the building, maybe a little bit less aggressive. It's not, you know, they can't lay down and die. You know, you can't just hit it hard from the yard or anything just because you don't have tank hydrant water. On the other hand, even if you're going to go in and make an interior attack, maybe not push quite as hard, maybe not be so aggressive, as aggressive as you would be if somebody was trapped. Now, if there was somebody visibly trapped or knowingly trapped, maybe we're still going to try and do that. And that bet is always hedged by that chauffeur outside who's going to keep you up. Whatever water you got. That water's not going anywhere. If you got 750 gallons or 1,000 gallons of water, you got a good firefight ahead of you. You got plenty of ammunition. You know.
Well, and shouldn't you be dialed in? We've said this for years too. Firefighters should be so proficient with their SCBA. Forget heads-up display. You should know. You should be going. I'm about half, or my alarms will be going off any minute. You should be dialed in. Shouldn't a good officer, a good nozzleman that practices all the time, you don't have to have fires every day, that practices all the time, shouldn't they have kind of that little gut feeling that, we're getting towards the end here, and any second now I should be hearing, interior from engine two, you're down to a quarter tank. I mean, shouldn't they be dialed in with that, John? You think?
Oh, absolutely, and I think one more step on that would be, it shouldn't be a mystery. In other words,
right? You
got 1,000-gallon tank. You should be doing some drills. You should do a drill maybe once a year, twice a year with the guys in the company. Go somewhere, stop, pull a line at a damn football field or something. Go right. Pull a line, charge it, open it up, and start opening, closing. Crawl a little bit, open, close. Crawl a little bit, open, close. Keep the timer going. Let the engineer tell you 3/4, half, quarter, and say, hey, guys, How long do you think we've been operating here? Look how long we lasted. That was just with our water, you know? So now when you go somewhere, 2 nights later, you go to a job, everybody knows, oh, we do this drill all the time with the captain. We do 7 minutes of water with our 1,000 gallons. We do over 7 minutes. We're good on this. Instead of saying, gee, I wonder how long this is going to last.
Well,
it shouldn't be a question.
And I think a bonus to that would be if you have the ability to have another company, excuse me, watching. Because it's one thing, like you said, I love that. Okay, guys, how long we've been at this? How much water do you think we have? It's a whole, when you're just standing there watching and going, this is taking forever. It's SCBA, right? You send, all right, you guys are going to have the next evolution. Stand by, these guys, and they're in there, and you're going, Jesus, what the hell's taking them so long? How long are they going to be in there fighting this training fire? You know, I think it's the same thing. The guys inside, time's flying by. They're like, it's time to come out already. Holy crap, you know. And the guys outside are going, it's back to the stopwatch thing. We really do have some, but I think one of the cautions I would throw out there, John, is know your building, know your enemy. If you crawl in there and you're going to throw water out the other end of that nozzle through a window and not do no, just sit there. Or if you get in there and you've got, if you can run out of 500 gallons of water or 750 and get really jammed up because I think you weren't thinking. I think you misread something. I'm talking a single family dwelling, apartment building, 2-floor, whatever. I mean, seriously, I'm going, all right, I'm down the hallway. I've got 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. The stairs are behind me.
And the hose line leads you out. If you run into trouble, right. this should be a bunt to get out,
3 bedrooms could be going. If I've got 500 gallons of water, what did I do wrong to run myself out of water where I'm being chased down the hallway at a 2-story single-family dwelling, right?
I mean 3 bedrooms, even 3 bedrooms. How big are they in a typical house? Not a McMansion, typical American suburban private dwelling. 3 bedrooms is well within the capability of an 1 3/4 hose line with a 500, not maybe a 500, but let's say 750 or 1,000-gallon tank is unquestionable. 500, you might make a nice knock on it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely, it takes what? 10, 15 seconds of water application to a typical little bedroom, and it's not down.
Let me throw this at you. You pull up, you got a, 1, 2-story, single family, you got fire blowing out a couple windows. All right, blowing out a couple, 2 first-floor windows, maybe 1 bedroom or into a hall, whatever, and it's lapping, and you're losing the windows. And let's say you're looking for manning, right? We talk about this. A lot of places don't pull up with 5 people on the engine. You pull up and you're like, and I used to do this one once in a while. I say, guys, when you get here, slow it down from the outside. We got to buy some time, whatever, our next new engine. So now we have to consider the same thing, short burst, kind of like that whole transitional attack thing is only supposed to be like 30 seconds, not 30 minutes outside.
Right.
Same. You've got to be conscious, right? You got to be aware of how much water you're, darkening down something to give yourself a little headway. So you get in there and finish it off and kill it, knowing how far your second due is, right? This is back to, right? You say it all the time. I'm a big believer. I love when we go to places, John, you see the guys walking around with their radios on all day, or they're listening. They have some guys shut all the radios off in the firehouse. So to be able to hear that, all right, hey guys, we're first due. Second due is going to be a ways away. They're on an EMS call, so we're getting engine 4. You know what I'm saying? Back to like when we talk about our battalion chiefs class, being aware of where all your companies are and who's coming from where. We're already behind the 8 ball because we're going to a building that caught fire like minutes before probably someone called us in most cases. We need to be aware of where our next 2 companies are. So how far I can, as they say in Texas, bury up. How far am I going to commit inside? I may not commit as far, if you will, knowing I don't have any help coming for a little bit, that we're not on top of each other like in the Bronx.
There are departments that have help coming a long way, like it's like a 3-4 mile, 5 mile trip for the next engine. Here's a good question. So what other condition upon arrival, working fire, upon arrival, would you probably not pull and use the first line or charge the first line with tank water alone?
What other condition?
Yeah, well, it's a very vague question until I answer it. Outside attack, you get this house going, a defensive operation.
Oh yeah.
If you pull 2.5-inch hose, unless you're going to use 1 3/4 just to maybe wet down an exposure, keep it from extending or jumping across an alley or something. But if you're going to open 2.5-inch hose with a 750-gallon tank, you're talking about a minute or 2 of water and then you're done anyway. Now again, if it's to protect an exposure, that might be worthwhile. That would be a worthwhile activity. But just to get parked and get ready. Maybe you'll pull your lines and get ready, but I'm not sure if if using tank water up with 2.5 is going to get you much other than an empty tank real fast.
Not to get you too far down the road with another topic, or we do it for another show, but just playing off of that, you pull up, and I know where I want to go with this. You got fire blowing out the Bravo side of a house, impinging on, in a gangway, a little narrow way, impinging on the house next door. And you and I've said this, a lot of guys, what do you do? Well, I would protect the exposure. And I'm like, well, we can protect the exposure till we really burn the, what I'm saying? We've talked about this before. How about attack the underlying cause? Maybe you hit the exposure, drop the ignition temperature down on the siding of the wood or whatever, just for a little bit. But how about we get in there and actually go after what's causing the problem to have the fire blown out the side in the first place, right? How about finish off this that's impinging on this, hit it a little bit, cool, hey, well, you're masking up or whatever. I hit it just to cool it down, and then boom, we go in. Sure. Because I think some people get hung up, John, outside, and they're doing this, and this thing inside is getting bigger and bigger. Now it's in the 2 rooms to the floor.
Listen, I don't think exposure protection was ever meant to be a solitary assignment. I think exposure protection has always meant to be, you hit the exposure, you go back to the fire, you slow it down a little bit, darken it down. You hit the exposure a little bit, make sure. Now, if the exposure is really starting to roar, the whole side of the building next door is on fire, another story. You got to really attack that and try and, if the building burns down, the original building, so be it. But if you got a couple of windows exposed in a house, even if the house is already ignited, once you give it a sweep and knock the flames down, even if it's still embers and smoke, then I would turn back to the cause, to where the heat and the smoke is coming from, knock that down for, another couple of minutes or another minute or another, and then sweep back and forth. Absolutely.
And I bring that up, John, not that we have, you and I both, we put firefighters, aside from our personal families that are the most important thing to us and our friends, we love firefighters. We love the fire service. We live, eat, and breathe it. I love hanging with you because of that reason. And the guys we run with, the guys we hang with, the Butchie Cobbs and the guys that just, when you go place, that's what you're doing. You're talking shop and everything else. But there's a lot of firefighters out there that I think they look forward to hearing from people like yourself. I say all the time, look, I'm not going to talk about my fire experience, but I'll talk about John's. And I say at class all the time, I've said a show before, John don't have to tell you how many fires he's been to, because a lion doesn't have to tell you he's a lion. But I'll tell you how many fires he's been to. So listen to what he has to say. Pay attention to what he has to say. When he says, you can do this, then do this, you could take that to the bank. And I think a lot of young firefighters, John, need to hear just what you said. And look, exposure protection has never been, look, I got an extra firefighter that can't sit inside by himself or herself. Grab that 1 3/4. Do not look. We pulled up. There was one building on fire. When we leave here, it's going to be just one building. Wet this down, and if you train them right, you give it a burst, and if it doesn't steam or off yet, all right, good. If things start popping, if it's not on fire yet, you just cool it, right? Keep it below its ignition temp. Run some water down. You don't have to take a main ladder and destroy the house like you see some people doing with $1 million. I cannot. It makes my teeth itch when I see that. It's not on fire, and they're busting shingles and siding. One person, if you have that extra, because you have another assignment for them, can do that. But I like that point you said. It's not a standalone assignment. Right. You know what? You hit it. You go back. You hit this. I say it's like buying time. Your line's charged. Your captain's doing a 360, right? Do a quick duck around the building. You're ready to go. He's got to come back. She's got to come back and mask up real quick. So all right. By the time you got back, Cap, exposure's good. Nothing. It's not ready. We got some time. Or, hey, I cooled the exposure off. I hit a little bit here. Tommy, what do I got left? You're good. You're good. You're not even at 3/4 of a tank yet. You're good to go, right? And then the cap mask up, right? Let's go. You get inside. You're kneeling. Probably duck walking or whatever.
Right. So you do exposure protection. Maybe you get in there and actually knock the whole thing down. You might get 2 whole jobs done with that tank.
Yeah, exactly. So, I know we'll talk deck guns another day, but so the short answer to the question, can we begin our tack water using tank alone? In most cases, never say always, single family dwelling, some apartment buildings, whatever. The answer is yes, of course.
Absolutely. In most cases, it's an absolute yes. In most cases, yep. And
it comes down to, you said this in class, I've said it, know your enemy. The enemy is the building, not the fire. The fire is the ammunition. Know the enemy. What size building do I have? What's inside this building? If it's a common residential structure, aside from those goofy asses that bring motorcycles inside with gas tanks and stuff, what do I have inside? I've got furniture, I've got hydrocarbon, I got combusted. It's not pallets and straw, guys and gals. It's not pallets and straw. Don't get snookered from the burn tower. But we can get in there and we could do a lot of work and quite possibly, and actually in most cases, in a lot of places, save some lives by using our tank water, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can keep it from, like you already said, keep it out of one building fire,
And I love that drill. I'm going to close with that for this one. Think about what Chief Salka said, man, what John said. Go to the football field. You know what? Go to the Little League field. They can always use water on the Little League field. Don't waste it at a parking lot. Don't waste it at Walmart's back park. You know what? If you're going to flow some water and dump a tank or whatever, go to the park. Go to, reinvest in your city's infrastructure. All right, somebody, they're wasting water. Well, actually, yes and no. We're training, but the water went to where our parks are. So, but I love that idea of getting out there and flowing water, moving, shutting down, flowing water, and
next time you do it in a fire, idea. You'll know you got 7 minutes of water coming behind you. Yeah,
exactly. So, well, we're good. You want to close this one out, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we always say, keep things simple. Rick and I talk. We just talk about the stuff that we've done. We just talking about our experiences on the fire ground and on the training ground. So it's our pleasure to be talking to you all the time. And stay safe out there.
Be careful. Be safe. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in.